Promote a culture of inclusion, supercharge your communication, and unleash the full potential of your teams and leaders with the Inclusive Handbook collection from the Diversity Movement. As part of the collection, I wrote the Inclusive Leadership Handbook with Kurt Merriweather to empower leaders with tools needed to cultivate a culture that fosters creativity, innovation, and employee engagement. Through strategies, exercises, and self-reflection, leaders at all levels can enhance their effectiveness. Learn more at thediversitymovement.com/store. Use code HOL at checkout for 25% of your first order.
We never wanted to be the best Black-owned bourbon. We want to be the best bourbon, point blank, period, and you just happen to know that we're Black. That was our goal.
Welcome to High Octane Leadership with Donald Thompson. This season, we're diving deeper with more solo episodes, where I'll share the experiences that have led to recognition by EY, Forbes, Fast Company, and others. Not as a boast, but as milestones on my entrepreneurial path. From growing multi-million-dollar firms to successful business exits and building high-performance teams with a global perspective. I'll reveal the insights and strategies from my journey and share them with you so that we can win together. Alongside these solo episodes, we'll have industry visionaries and thought leaders, and we'll explore effective leadership. Ready to empower your leadership journey with real success stories? Let's embark on this transformational journey together. Welcome to another episode of High Octane Leadership. I'm your host, Donald Thompson. I'm here today with Emmanuel Waters, the CEO and co-founder of Old Hillside Bourbon. Emmanuel, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on and be speaking with you. Excited to dive in. I'm excited.
Good stuff, man. One of the things that I like to do so that our audience is listening to you as a friend, just take a minute, kind of non-business. Tell us something about you, family, education, biggest lesson you learned that you wouldn't find on your LinkedIn profile or your pitch deck.
Yeah. So one thing people don't know about me is I'm actually a son of a military. I'm a military brat. My dad was a military officer, Air Force guy. I spent a good portion of my life living overseas. So I lived in Japan and I graduated high school in Europe. So my dad, who just was, he was actually a colonel, a lieutenant colonel, but he got 2 consecutive overseas assignments, which just doesn't happen. So I literally went from Japan directly to Europe. So the life, I would say the view and prism in which I see life is going to be completely different than I would say probably your average person from North Carolina. So my parents like to joke around. They'd be like, "You're really not from North Carolina. We're from North Carolina." I'm like, no. Like, I grew up in North Carolina, but then we went overseas, my family's there and grandparents, and so I have a passion for traveling. I mean, I've been to, I think 35 foreign countries. My goal is to get to 60. I try to see the amount of countries that match my age, but I now have little kids. They have slowed me down. But yeah, I love to see the world, love experiencing new cultures. And I got, like I said, I got that bug really early when I was in high school and just fell in love with traveling and connecting to other cultures. So that's something you won't find on a LinkedIn bio anywhere. No, I love that. And, I was not an Army brat. I am the son of a retired college football coach. So I didn't travel as extensively as you, but I moved around in the U.S. quite a bit. And even when in the U.S., my prism of culture and backgrounds and perspectives and different things was driven by that. And so we'll unpack that a little bit more because I think that probably aligns your executive style too. Here's the first question about Old Hillside, right? And we'll come back to the heritage story in a minute, but I want to dig into kind of the brand and the build out, right? One of the things I was researching is bourbon is one of the few products, right, that you can't just manufacture and ship. Yep. There's an aging process. Absolutely.
Right? So now you're investing significant dollars in building out a product that you've got to have in a barrel for years before you can now ship the product. How does that shape your thinking as a business leader in distribution, and how do you plan? That's a big systemic difference from most leaders that I've talked to.
Yeah, Don, you're not helping me out with any investors, by the way. I just want to let you, just want to let you know that. Yeah. So what's interesting is, I never had a background in bourbon. I never drank a bottle of bourbon prior to the company. In 2020, that's just not my drink of choice. I think I'm more of a sweet guy. And so when Jesse called and they told me about I was like, bourbon, this is kind of weird. And so when he walked me through the process and he invited me to the distillery, I was learning, I was like, oh, wow. So like, it's like you mentioned, you have to age it. And when we pick the years, everything that we do is a minimum of 4 years, because that's where we believe that we have a sweet spot. And that's where it starts to really taste good. So anything below 4 years, we won't put in a bottle. Right. And actually that speaks to, I would say, also the spirit of excellence that we have when it comes to our brand, because what we could have done is we could have put a 6-month bourbon in a bottle and got a lot more volume and had margins from the start. But we're like, no, we want something that's aged with something that's crafted good. If we don't think it tastes good, why would we give it to our customers for the sake of getting $1? Right. And so, yeah, we had to essentially buy it aged, let it sit for a while. It takes a while. We're buying stuff now to release in 2026. We're not going to release till 2030. That's so our investors are always like, you're buying this stuff. You gotta be with us for the long haul.
Yeah, that's right.
You got to be with us for the long haul. But it just became just a passion. It's the true American spirit, and it's the only spirit that you can manipulate based on where it sits. So I never knew my first time distillery, you could have, and we do something called single barrel, which you can't, like, we can do everything that comes out. I mean, we have the same exact barrels. They can be put in the barrel the same exact day. One could sit here, one could sit here, and you're going to get two completely distinctive flavors, different flavors. Bourbon is the only spirit that can do that. And so I was blown away. I was like, wait. So when we went there, he turned the barrel to the side. He's, oh yeah, then I'll move these, gives it more flavor. I was like, this is freaking phenomenal. And so, yeah, I fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, now I'm going to really ramp up and just, I think I came home that day and I just started buying all types of stuff. I didn't even know what bourbon. I didn't even know bourbon was a type of whiskey. I was buying whiskey. I bought scotch. I didn't know. I was learning on the fly, but it's been fun. It's an exciting process. And again, it literally goes back to what, the 1600s, and they were bootlegging it, right? It goes back to Prohibition,
That is awesome. One of the things that attracted me to want to talk to you, and we're doing some partnership things on another lane that maybe we'll get into at another time. But as I've researched you all, I've really been impressed with the way you're thinking about branding the business and building a storytelling brand.
Sure.
Right? The extension of the spirits, but really telling the story. Unpack that a little bit, both the thought process and some of the themes of which you're creating uniqueness in the market.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, so just our name, let's start there. Hillside, which was named after Hillside High School, which is one of the oldest African-American high schools in the United States in Durham, where we're all originally from. If you know anything about Durham and really history, right? Durham was home of one of 5 Black Wall Streets in America. Now, we know the most famous one is obviously Tulsa because of the destruction that was done there. But there were other Black Wall Streets in America. For those that don't know, Black Wall Streets were places in a time post-slavery where obviously we could not integrate with whites. We had our own banks, our own post offices. Essentially, it was literally I would call a melting pot of Black entrepreneurship, right? Like we thrived in our own, right? My granddaddy would tell you that he never wanted to integrate because we had no reason to go across town, right? So that was the basis for the brand, right? And so when Jesse, my co-founder, who got out the military, was living in Kentucky at the time as well, he invited us to a horse race. We went out there, didn't see any African Americans. We're like, what? And then we find out that African Americans had literally built the Kentucky Derby. Those were the baseline and really the inspiration to the brand. So if you look on our crest, you'll see there's a massive horse on there that represents the Black Jockeys, and there's a bull. That is Bull Durham City. So those were the 2 pillars anchored in to start the brand, because the spirits industry, it's just crazy competitive, right? I mean, my God, it's in bourbon specifically, $9 billion category. How are you going to compete with the likes of Jack Daniels, a Woodford. These guys been around. Buffalo Trace, they've been around since 1795. I mean, they got a marketing budget literally that people probably won't see a revenue, right? So how do you differentiate yourselves? And that's what we wanted to do. It was never about let's get drunk. It was always about let's tell stories. And thus the pillars, history, heritage, and homage. Those became our three anchors. And the idea was let's tell stories in the form, and we'll use the bourbon as a medium to tell those stories, and everything that we do will be centered in around those three buckets. And I mean, it became a runaway hit. That's actually what attracted me to the brand. It was never about bourbon because I'm not naturally a bourbon drinker, but when we got on the call and I said, oh my God, like these black jockeys, this is a phenomenal freaking story in Durham. I literally said, we have something, and I was blown away. And I said, oh my, like, I need to be involved, and that was that.
So one of the things that I want to extend on that, and I appreciate that very much, especially what you were talking about relative to Black Wall Street. One of the things in our country today is the narrative of who we are as African Americans is skewed, right? And it is skewed primarily negative, right? You should be afraid of the angry black man. You should be afraid of XYZ. And it clouds all of the amazing things that we're doing to both contribute and build and grow economic value in our country. And so Black Wall Street, this is my soapbox moment a little bit. Entrepreneurs like yourself, like myself, have a responsibility to win, not only for us and our families, right, but to change the narrative in the paradigm. So here's my question, right? When you're building this business out and some of the things, there's a small percentage of people that look like you and I in the spirit space, right? So how are you navigating this space, right, with suppliers, with investors, with different things, so that you don't use it as an excuse, but there is a business reality that your road's going to be a little bit tougher. What are you doing to navigate?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you some statistics. So the U.S. spirits industry alone is a $40 billion industry. African Americans represent 12% of consumers, less than 1% of ownership. Think about that. That means we spend about almost $3 billion in alcohol, and less than 1% of alcohol companies are black. That is ridiculous, right? But what I learned, and I spent some time in corporate America too. I'm here in Silicon Valley. I'm in tech. There's not a lot of African Americans in tech. There's not a lot of African Americans in AI. I've had to navigate this basically my entire career. And you've done the same thing, Don, right? So when we got together, I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I get to do it with my brothers. Like, oh, this is going to be great. And then we get over here and I'm like, it's the same freaking thing. It's just a different industry. It's the same. So I like to say, you can say whatever you want. Men lie, women lie, but numbers do not. This is systemic across the board, right? If you are an entrepreneur, and I hate to get on the soapbox, but if you are specifically black and you are a black woman, it's dang near impossible. And there are systemic barriers to navigate, right? But instead of always trying to ask somebody for help, let's just build our own table. Right?
One of the things, like, that's powerful, and I'm going to give you the mic back in just a second. James Sills is the CEO of M&F Bank, based out of Durham.
Yep.
Yeah. And I had him on my podcast a few years ago. In fact, I owe him a phone call. But one of the things he was talking about is how to accelerate closing of the wealth gap, and how entrepreneurship is one of the fastest ways to do that, right? Sure. Because you can have an idea, you can have a business and different things. And so here's my question as you look at your business and growth. What are some of the levers, right, that you want our listeners to think about to support Black-owned, Black-led businesses, and in particular, Old Hillside? Right? As we promote this episode, as we're talking to people about what you're doing, how can we be supportive? Because the thing that I'll say is a lot of times we're competing in our own race and we never look to the left and right to see how we can help our brother, right? How we can help our sister. And so what I want to ask you as I promote this episode is I'm out and about as a business leader. what can we do to support Old Hillside in this amazing journey?
Yeah. So Old Hillside and really every Black owned business, number one, or small business as a whole, number one, don't ask for free product. That's number one. We are all out here grinding. We are, unless you started this company or your company with a lot of money, when most of us do not, don't ask for free product. That's number one. You want to support me right there. Go out and buy a bottle, buy, Black owned shirts, whatever the case may be. Go buy the product, try it, support it. And then now we're in a day and age, as you know, Don, we're in a word of mouth, social media, share on social media. To me, that's probably the biggest lever, to be quite honest with you, because we're in an age of media where things can be picked up by a hashtag, and before you know it, you're kind of viral, right? So to me, those are the two biggest things. Understand that, like, we are all in here, especially small business. Like, it is really tough. There is systemic barriers to access to capital, but I don't have to make that necessarily a race thing. I will say banks, and I learned this from John Hope Bryant, they're in the business. They fund balance sheets. They don't fund dreams. Right. So like, as much as, and we had a hard time until today, Don. I mean, I bank with some of the biggest banks out there. Like, I haven't got a freaking loan yet. Like, you know what I mean? That just, until you get to a certain amount of R&R and your EBITDA is positive, like, you just, you know what I mean? Like, they'll give you a credit card, but they're not going to give you a loan. Like, it's so many levers that you just, and I'm like, hey, I'm trying to get the loan so I can build the revenue, right? They want to see your balance sheet. They don't care about that, right? And so you learn heavy on, what that looks like, right? But if you keep, you really have to be persistent. That's something that I learned, and I've only been doing this. Our business is 6 years old. I am going into year 3 full time, and I would say entrepreneurship and even being a CEO is the lowest paying job you could ever take, if you think about it from a macro to-do list task perspective. Like, I wouldn't wish this job on one of my worst enemies. Like, this is it's not for the weak. You know what I mean? Like, this is, and this is coming from a place like I live in Silicon. Like, I was like, I had a really good life, right? So I told my co-founder, Jess and Corey, I said, next time you have a dream in life, don't call me. Hang up. Don't call me. Do not call me. Your next endeavor, don't call me, right? But also, what I love about my guys is that although I had a great career in Silicon Valley and a good successful career, there wasn't fulfillment. Mm-hmm. Every 18 months, I was chasing like the next big thing on the job and just navigating a space that was just very difficult, dealing with idiots and personalities. And I got to check in and I got to, submit my, document to get, time off. And again, I have no problem with authority. My father was military. I am very big on authority. I love authority. I think it's great. And I love structure. But what I learned is just like, this is not a place for me, and it'd be really tough to go back. Right. At entrepreneurship, by the way, you still answer to somebody. I answer to my investors. I answer to my stockholders. And if you don't answer to anybody entrepreneur, then you really don't have a business. You just have a side hustle, to be quite honest with you.
Right? Yeah, I appreciate that. So, couple of specifics. And one of the things that I've learned in working with you is you've got to be licensed in a particular state.
Yes.
Right. To then distribute product. Right.
Yes.
And so talk to me a little bit about when we talk about supporting Old Hillside, right? What are the states where we can support your business? Can we get at you online? Like, how do we do that? What are some of the retailers that we need to go? Because here's the reason I want to square this. I want to be able to look at this podcast today.
Yep.
And then a few years from now, right, through our voice, through our volume, we're helping the story become real, right? That big success story. So that's why I'm asking a couple of these detailed questions.
Yeah. So every time I hear the word license now, Don, I kind of get chest compressions, and it's very stressful. Kidding. But obviously our home state, North Carolina, is what we call a control state. That means a state controls all of the liquor sales. So you can go to your local ABC board and purchase a bottle. So collectively, we are in North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama. Those are 3 control states. So you can go to your local ABC Spirit store and purchase us, grab a bottle. Heading out west here in California, we are everywhere. All Bevmos, all Total Wines, Whole Foods. You cannot come to California and not find us. From the tip of the top of the bay all the way to the Mexican border, we are everywhere. And that speaks to really, first of all, a brand that's less than 6 years old doesn't give this type of attribution, but this speaks volumes to what we've done as a team. And we've really put our work boots on. We're blue collar, we've been working. So California and then Hawaii. And those that are not in those states, Old Hillside Bourbon Company.com. We ship to 49 out of 50 states. We ship everywhere but Utah. So you can find us, everywhere and come right to your door.
Ah, beautiful. I think that is fantastic. Now, when you're thinking about navigating this space, this is now more of a leadership perspective. I'm going to broaden the window out. What are some characteristics that you see that you want to and are emulating, right, as a CEO and as a leader, right, that you could share with our audience? And then you feel free to weave in any lessons learned, right? Because being a new CEO of this new firm, I'm sure there's a lot of lessons learned over the last 3 years. And so without unpacking like the book, because I have a book, right? but if you wouldn't mind giving us a couple of reflective thoughts on your views on leadership and building that cohesive team to win in spite of the barriers.
Yeah. What's interesting, Don, is for whatever reason, years ago, when I started my career right out of college, I started working for the Department of Defense early on, and I always was fascinated. I always read a lot of leadership books. I couldn't tell you why. I just love leadership books. I read a lot of autobiography books and self-help business books. So leaders like, Colin Powell, Barack Obama, Malcolm X. I just fell in love with visionaries like that. Steve Jobs, I've read them all. Phil Knight, Nike, I fell in love with those type of books. And one thing that stands out to me is really everybody that I've mentioned and leader in general is really taking a vision and creating a vision and turning it into a movement or pounding the pavement. Right. And so for us and for me, I think one thing that makes me a good leader is I saw the vision early on when it came to the brand. I saw it, I think, probably before my co-founder saw it. And even though obviously they got together before me and I was the last piece of the puzzle, that day in Durham, for those that don't know, November 2021, this is the day, the month that I knew I was no longer going to be in corporate America. For those that don't know, you mentioned alcohol. North Carolina is a control state. It is by far the hardest state to get into from an alcohol perspective because of the laws and how meticulous it comes to how to distribute. It's so much so that other brands who had been, older than us when we started, this is their words: do not go into North Carolina because it'll kill your brand. Literally what they told us: do not go into North Carolina. It will kill your brand. Don't go in there. Come to Atlanta, go to Georgia. Instead, don't go into North Carolina. But this is why you need to have the vision, right? What was supposed to be the death of us actually was a catapult, right? We went from a state that we weren't supposed to be in to we broke the record, which we hold that record to the day. We sold 50 cases, which is 300 bottles. Keep in mind, nobody has ever tasted our bourbon. Nobody's ever tasted it. And we go to the store that day and we have a bottle signing, and the store, when we got to the building, Don, I have no way to describe it other than this. The line was wrapped around the building. November 2021 is cold. This is COVID. And everybody's in here to see us and to support us. City, the council, city councilmen, mayors, old high school teachers. I mean, it was packed. People were buying 6, 7, 8, 9 bottles at a time. Within 15 minutes of the tasting, we had to lower the amount of people that buy and say, you can only buy 1 bottle at a time because we're going to run out of product. Right. And so the way I describe it is, if you ever look, there's a picture on Black Wall Street in Durham years ago in the 1930s and 40s. There's a picture of a line that was there. That's what it was. I'm like, we touched the ancestors that day. I called my wife I literally was just like, I'm not going to be around much longer. I knew that day. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but that to me said, this cannot be a part-time business for me. That's when I knew, right? I saw the vision. I said, oh my God, people are coming and we broke a record in the hardest state and we're telling stories. Oh, and by the way, we only had one bottle at the time and they're willing to do this. What could we do a little bit more? And how can the world, all the states get to see this? And so I knew right then and there. I saw the vision early on. So as a leader, you better see the vision. I think that's what you may not necessarily have the steps right then and there, but if you can see the vision, it's like my favorite scripture is Habakkuk 2:2. Write the vision and make it plain. That day I was like, oh, okay, I'm writing it down. Right. And I saw it. I was like, this is going to be that day. And there's so many other things that have gone along the road, but I was like, this is bigger than bourbon. This one is bigger than bourbon.
That is powerful. So one of the things, I'm going to circle back now to the production. We talked about the storytelling, right, of building the brand. Now let's pull back and how do you create something that is considered high quality in the spirit space? How did you do your testing and your benchmarking? And how do you feel confident, right, that your bourbon should stand out amongst those legacy players?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was during COVID. We did a lot of sampling. We had a lot of time on our hands. And just to be quite honest with you, Don, like for me personally, Donald, I was extremely intimidated because I don't have a sophisticated palate. My co-founders were drinking bourbon way before me, and they're watching this podcast. They're much older than me, so but I mean, like literally, Jesse, Brian, and like they literally are bourbon collectors. Like, you know what I mean? They go to Jesse and Brian were going to do distillery tours. I had never done nothing like that, so it was extremely intimidating for me. But as I started refining my palate, as I started trying stuff, I realized like 95% of the stuff that's out there is terrible. It's horrible, right? But it's been shoved down our throats because it's really not in the experience industry. It's less about the quality and more about the marketing, right? Yeah. So it's just 95% of the stuff you see on the shelf, all of it's trash. To be quite honest with you, right? I just, like tomorrow, there's some big celebrities that have some bourbons and this is terrible. And I love the celebrity, but it's horrible, right? You don't take any time to put any money into the product. So what we wanted to do, we never wanted to be the best black owned bourbon. We want to be the best bourbon, point blank, period. And you just happen to know that we're black. That was our goal. So we took a lot of time to craft. When we found something that we liked, we wanted to make sure that it was aged good and that if we didn't like it, we wouldn't put it in a bottle and give it to our customers. And then we did a bunch of blind tastings. And then we entered the largest spirits competition in the world. And then we got a couple gold medals. And then we got a double gold medal. I was like, okay, this shows us, out of I think it was like over a couple million entries, they don't know us from Adam. It's a blind tasting. And we got a gold medal. That tells me we have a sophisticated and a great product. All
right. So I want to go back to the gold medals for a minute, right? Cause that's the humble brag, but I want to pull back a little bit. Talk to me about some of those competitions. Talk to me about the number of participants and getting a gold medal is pretty significant, especially as a brand new brand, I imagine.
Yeah. It was our very first SKU, which is our Kentucky bourbon, our first bottle. The San Francisco Spirits Competition is the largest spirits competition in the world. In the entire world. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of applicants entered this specific competition. It's been around for decades. If you win a medal in that competition, it's legit. That's what we were told. And from now we know we're like, oh yeah. So now when we go to trade shows, the first thing we do is we look to see if you have a medal from that competition. We don't care about no other competition but that one. Right. And so when we went in there, we applied and when we won a gold medal, we're like, holy moly, we won a gold medal our very first year. Like, this is amazing. You know what I mean? This is phenomenal, right? There's literally bronze, silver, gold, and there's double gold. So gold out the gate, we're like, okay, we got something. Oh, and then by the way, we're going to get even refiner, get even better. And then we came out with our rye, our last rye, which pays tribute to the Black Jockeys. We won a double gold, the highest medal you can come out with. So it was like nonstop back to back. I'm like, okay, this goes to show you. So I always say we have a great product. And we have an even better story.
So let's go now put the product and the story together because you just mentioned it, but I want to amplify this for our listeners, right? You built a version of your product specifically around the story of Black Jockeys. Is that correct?
Yes.
So talk to me about that merging of the high quality product and the story into the product.
Yeah. So this was, what's interesting is this was supposed to be a one-time thing that we were going to do for the Kentucky Derby. And we were going to call it the ride. And Jess was like, Jesse had the idea to come out called the last ride. And he was like, hey, let's pay an ode to the Jockeys. We have literally built a company that we're talking about Jockeys. We don't have anything to really represent them. This is going to be that. And I said, okay, this is a great idea. So we tried some flavors. And when we got the rye out the barrel, I was like, oh my God, the juice was first. The juice was amazing. It was prohibition style. So if the jockeys were allowed to drink alcohol in their day, this is the proof they would have drunk it at, and then we used the term last ride as a play of words because they were the last riders and the black riders in the Kentucky Derby that won. So it's come play on words with them. And, we put their four faces on a bottle, and Don, literally, we call that bottle, I called it the bill payer because it was supposed to be a one time. I think we did 30 cases, 180 bottles. It went literally nowhere the words. It went crazy. Next thing you know, Bevmo in California is calling, and we were supposed to do 180 bottles. They ordered something close to like a couple hundred cases. So we had to then go back and find money to try to ramp up production, and because it was never supposed to be here in California, right? It was always supposed to be just a Kentucky thing because, Kentucky is the home of horse racing, but this is not just a Kentucky story. And to our surprise, there's a big horse racing culture across America that we never knew about outside of Kentucky, right? And so, people love to see what we found as we're going through this journey. These aren't just Black history stories. These are American history stories, and people love to hear about them, And so if you're telling that really is our secret sauce. And what we found, we have a niche. Nobody is doing this in the alcohol space that we are aware of, and not to the degree that we're doing it, for sure.
So and I could absolutely talk to you all day. We've just found with our algorithms and all the things that short, powerful conversations are the best. And so I'll bend your ear more and more over the weeks. But as we land the plane on this conversation, what would you like to share with our audience that I haven't thought to ask?
But I haven't thought to ask. So I would say I always like to leave people because this is a phenomenal podcast, and you are somebody that I look up to, right? And people, and I guess at some point people are crazy enough to look up to me for whatever reason, but that's, but I think aspiring entrepreneurs, if I can leave you with anything, obviously it's so cliche to say, don't quit, don't give up. Like those are all true, right? By all means, you don't want to quit, don't give up. But you really count the cost, really be measured in terms of if you want to do entrepreneurship full time, there's going to be different ways to do it. There are different ways to get into it. I'm not telling anybody, I'm not one to tell you to just go quit your job tomorrow. And then that wasn't my journey. Not to say you can't do that. But really count the costs, right? I think, sometimes we have to be a little more calculated in terms of how we do things, but also, I think as African Americans, I think we have a really low tolerance for risk. Obviously, because of where we come from as a people, that it was like, hey, get this good job, stay on this job 30 years, get this good pension, don't mess up this money because we didn't come from money. But what do you have to lose? That's what I want to tell people. Ask yourself, what is literally the worst possible scenario? And then sometimes you may see yourself, I have nothing to lose and everything to gain by doing this, by pursuing this, right? Which is upside, right? But for me, when I looked at it, I said, I want to do this full time. And that day I said, I'm going to be done with corporate America. And me and my wife, we went through everything. Now we're married with kids and we were in a different phase of life, but I had said, we've made enough money. We have rental property. We have the American dream. We got a dog. We got 2 kids. We got everything. We got investment property. Like, I am tired of building for other people. What do you have to lose? What is the risk? So if I could tell anybody that, it'd be aspiring entrepreneurs, like really look at risk and ask yourself, like, is it really risky? I think sometimes we have more to gain to lose a lot of the times to be entrepreneurs. And I want to encourage everybody to, not everybody needs to be entrepreneur. Like,
that's right. That's right. I was talking to a business leader and I was serving on their board, and I won't name drop. That's not important, but we were going through some crisis in the organization, some challenging times. And the leader said, "Thank you all as a board for the phone calls to check and see if I'm doing well and all the things." He said, "I just want you to remember that in the airspace we play in, it's windy."
Oh, wow.
And if you cannot manage, right, the storms,
wow,
then you probably shouldn't pick leadership as a way to grow your career. So thank you for your thoughts, but I'm doing fine. And I was like, and I'm thinking, I'm in the back. I'm like, that's the ballerest shit I've ever heard, right? And it's a big organization, and I'm sitting there, but it was true, right? You have to be wired for. So yes, it's risk, but it's also, what is your pressure response, right, to leadership, right? And are you emotively equipped for the ups and downs before you get the win, right? And those are the things that we all have to support each other, cheer for each other. But at the same time, nobody can go through your journey but you. And
I wish I would.
And the luck that goes with it. If people want to get in touch with you personally, whether it's speaking, different things, and also Old Hillside, give us some of the contact things you'd like to share, and then we'll also put them in the show notes.
Yeah, absolutely. You can, me personally, I'm on LinkedIn, just Emmanuel Waters, LinkedIn. And if you want to find us via, oldhillsidebourboncompany.com, please, social media, Old Hillside Bourbon Co. I'm very accessible. I'm starting to now as part of my new job. I've never been one for the spotlight. I've been kind of in the shadows per se, but now I'm kind of out here, and it's part of my journey, right? It's learning how to be forward and up front. So now I'm kind of out here speaking, and every time I get an opportunity to share, wisdom, I do. But I do want to leave you with a nugget, Donald, if I may.
Yes, you can.
Okay. So, earlier this year, we did a special project, for the Harlem Hellfighters, which were the very first African-American unit to fight in World War I. They preceded the Tuskegee Airmen. 3 gentlemen, James Reese Europe, who was responsible for bringing the jazz to Europe. He inspired Duke Ellington. He was the godfather of jazz, really. So if you listen to jazz anywhere in the world, it's because of him. We have him. We have Benjamin Davis Sr., who's the very first black general in the Army. And then we have Henry Johnson. But these gentlemen were amazing. Check out the Harlem Hellfighters. The story is phenomenal. Actually, I have look at this gorgeous bottle right here. This is Ben Davis Sr. on the bottle right here. But as we were navigating this journey, we found out that Benjamin Davis Sr. had a son who was Ben Davis Jr. He is the very first black general in the Air Force, the very first father and son duo, only the second. There's only been 2 father and son duo generals in the military, the first black father and son duo. We are coming out with a project. Doug Melville, who is the great nephew of these gentlemen, wrote a book called Invisible Generals. He was on the Today Show, and he was on the Breakfast Club recently, and he's on tour right now. We are going to do a special edition bottle in honor of the first black father and son duo in the military, and I'm really excited about it, called Invisible Generals. So by the time this airs, we'll be really close to coming out with that bottle. Again, we just want to keep that mantra, keep storytelling. So, oldhillsidebourboncompany.com, sign up for our newsletter. That's kind of where we do, special releases, and we do stories, but we literally let the story create the bourbon, right? And that's something that we love to do. And that's going to be our mantra as long as we can go. So we're excited about this one. And we hope to keep doing these every year if we can. It takes a lot of stress. I had a full braid and hair before I started this, and now I'm all grayed out, but it's when you get through, you see the descendants, everything that we do. We always try to contact the descendants if they're around. And we just tell them that we're not interested in stealing anything. We just want to honor you. If we can do that. And so we've done this for the past, it's going on 3.5, 4 years now. And so every project we're meeting descendants that literally are American history. Right. And so I don't know anybody that's doing this on our scale. And again, and we're a really, really, really small brand. Right. So nobody's doing that to this capacity. And so it's excited to do that. And we hope to, again, keep doing as long as we can. So if you love, that's why I tell people, if you love history, follow us. You don't ever have to drink an ounce of alcohol. Follow us. If you have to Google any story that we have came out with, that means we would have done our job if you never buy a bottle. And that's what we want to do.
That's awesome. Emmanuel, thank you very much for your time, for your journey, and for your inspiration. And I love helping business leaders, entrepreneurs, anyone that's out there making a change in a positive way, and that can help people along the way as well. So thank you, my friend.
Well, thank you, sir. This has been great. We're gonna have to get you down there, get you a bottle. We need to get you to the Derby. We got to get you to the Derby and get you a hat.
I'm open. I'm open-minded. I am open-minded. Thank you for joining us on High Octane Leadership with Donald Thompson. Today's episode is a step in our collective journey towards leadership excellence. Remember, every story we share and every insight we gain is a piece in the puzzle of our leadership journey. For more insight and detail, hit the subscribe button so that we can stay connected. For deeper information and more episodes, go to donaldthompson.com. Continue to lead with vision and purpose, and until we meet again, embrace your role as a high-octane leader in the ever-evolving world of business.